Good evening. President Joe Biden addressing the nation for the first time since he ended his re-election campaign last weekend, saying, "I've given my heart and soul to this nation, as have so many others." It was a speech about service, and I'm certain that the president would also say it was a speech about sacrifice, his decision to leave the race, endorse his vice president, Kamala Harris, as she now takes on Donald Trump. Biden defended both his record in office and his view of American democracy. Biden did not explicitly acknowledge in any way the concerns of his fellow Democrats that forced him out of the race. Whether he has lost a step to the point that he cannot effectively campaign against and beat Donald Trump for a second time. And in not acknowledging those concerns, he also did not speak to any Americans' concerns about whether he is able to serve out the rest of his term effectively. Let's listen into a bit of what the president said.
Nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices. Fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now.
I want to have a conversation through a Colorado lens about what we just heard from President Biden, as well as his legacy and the race ahead. I'm joined by Denise Maes. She's the regional administrator for the U.S. General Services Administration. And before that role, she worked directly with then Vice President Joe Biden as his director of operations. Also joined by Republican State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer of Weld County, who's been a vocal critic of the president, including during a run for Congress in 2022. Thank you both. Denise Maes, I'd like to start with you. You worked for the president, then vice president, in the White House. You know him on a personal level. What do you believe his legacy will be?
Oh, absolutely. And, I love that man. And he has been very good to me personally. And I think he's done some wonderful things for this nation. And his legacy will only continue. And I think what he did on Sunday and his presentation tonight is just another chapter in a long book, a big textbook of his legacy and his amazing accomplishments. And I'm honored to have worked with him and alongside him.
Senator Kirkmeyer, former Vice President Mike Pence put out a statement in which he said that he thought that Biden had done the right thing, made the right decision by putting the interests of our nation ahead of his own. That's a real departure from what we heard from some other Republicans. Do you think Mike Pence is right on this?
I do. I think, he's the president of the United States. I think tonight was a good address for him. He got to lay out his case, basically state why he needs to still remain in office for the next 5-6 months. And it's the office, and we should respect the president of the United States and respect that office. And I think it was good that he stepped down.
Denise Maes, let me ask you about what might get done by the end of a Biden term, right? I mean, we know that Republicans in Congress blocked a bipartisan immigration deal, essentially on Donald Trump's orders, because they wanted to deny Biden a win, even if it was a bipartisan deal. That suggests there's not a whole lot he's going to be able to get done outside executive orders with his remaining months. Do you see it differently?
Actually, I don't, Kyle. He did outline a very ambitious set of initiatives that he wants to do during his remaining time in office. But yeah, I mean, let's face it, it's going to be difficult. I think he can try to put a lot of things on the table and hopefully get a couple, 3 of those initiatives done. But there's no doubt that it will be extremely difficult, most particularly now, not just an election year, but just a few months from an election. And that seems that it will be very, very difficult for him to do, except, like, as you mentioned, through executive orders.
Senator Kirkmeyer, let me ask you, is there anything about kind of this lame duck period that might make Republicans more inclined to work with Biden, or because it's his record through his vice president who's up for election in November, that nothing really changes when you swap one for the other in terms of what gets done practically?
I don't think anything gets done in the next 6 months. I mean, I think he just needs to hold on to what he was doing and, keep making these types of speeches, which would be good for him, so that we don't look weak as the United States of America, on a global platform. But he's in a lame duck mode. He's not going to get anything finished.
So you see a benefit for Americans of every political persuasion in the president looking strong?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we need to think about what the United States looks like. How strong do we look? How weak do we look? Tonight, he gave a good speech. You know, based on that debate, though, a few weeks ago, not so good. But this was good. It shows that he is still looking forward. He talked about uniting everyone and talked about what is best for the people. I agree with that. But when he started talking about, you know, the party, it's a little bit different issue. But he's done. He's in lame duck mode. He's not going to get anything accomplished through the next 6 months. They're all in everybody else is in campaign mode. He's not.
Yeah, I mean, he went from the center of the most watched race on earth to suddenly being a spectator, a high-profile spectator, but he's now a spectator. Yes. Yeah. Denise Maes, let me ask you, I mean, Democrats up to and including Vice President Kamala Harris are going to be asked whether they knew about the extent of President Biden's decline and whether they covered it up. My question for you, is that an issue that they should take seriously, and how do you think they should answer questions like that?
Well, I think in many respects, the question assumes facts, not in evidence. There's no question that the debate performance, of course, was, not a good one by any measure. But to make the conclusion that that equals a decline in some sort of mental capacity or what have you is a leap. And so I think on one hand, that's one way to answer the question. But sure, it should be taken seriously because I think it's been repeated enough that there are some folks out there that are wondering and thinking about it. But honestly, I continue to believe that it's certainly in my interactions with the president, and albeit not close ones of late, but I think that question really does assume facts, not in evidence. He's able to serve. The reason why he's not going to be campaigning is because he doesn't want to do campaigning. But there's no reason for him to to go along with the storyline that has mental frailties at all.
I love that you answered that both as the skilled lawyer that you are, not stipulating to the facts in the question, but also through a political lens. Senator Kirkmeyer, one last question for you. There's a single poll that showed that Colorado might be competitive in the presidential race if Biden was still top the ticket. I'm not sure how many people took one poll all that seriously, but do you think that it gets tougher for Colorado Republicans up and down the ballot to run with Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket instead of Joe Biden?
I think we start all over right now in this next race. I mean, with Trump and with Kamala Harris, it's a new race. Do I think it gets tougher for Republicans? No. I think right now they're at a dead heat, which is good for Colorado and good for Republicans in Colorado. They're going to have to spend in the next few weeks defining who Kamala Harris is. Republicans are also going to be defining who Kamala Harris is, and we're going to use that throughout. So I think Congressional District 8, for example, Congressional District 3, they've got a lot better chance now because we don't have Joe Biden at the top of the ticket.
State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer, Denise Maes, thank you both for your time.